personality.
Yeah.
Big Hearthstone personality, and we should have a look at the decks that they have brought, Derek.
Yeah, that's right. I don't want to, you know, it's... Deathsie is a good player. This is not disputed. He gets legend every month with innovative decks, not only the good stuff that everyone seems to be playing. But here we can see from his lineups, it is the standard stuff. Priest, Rogue, Shaman, and Druid, both orange and purple, qualified with that exact lineup to the World Championships earlier on this weekend. And from GeorgeC, we've got Priest and Druid. I think those are considered the two best at the moment, almost an auto-include. And then his Warrior and his Warlock.
Cheeky Warlock ad, because we've seen a little bit of that over HCT. There's two types of Warlock that I've seen recently. Obviously the straight Zoolock, which has been having a bit of success. And I've seen almost like a Zoo-type Gul'dan Warlock, where they have the demon-heavy Gul'dan Warlock that you just, you know, slam down big demons, get towards turn 10, slam down Gul'dan, and, you know.
Yep. I mean, I think that's the way that Zoo is going. I've been casting some games where people are going a bit more heavy in the discard area, where they're still playing Silverware Golems. But I think overall, because you can get a good early core deck going with Keleseth and obviously all the powerful Warlock 1-drops like Flame Imp and Voidwalker, that old chestnut. And then in the later game, you just have so much staying power with Gul'dan. Your Blood Reaver Gul'dan is better in Zoo than it is in Control Warlock, because you've got the Doom Guards, the Flame Imps, and the Voidwalkers.
Absolutely. I saw, I was actually watching Ball Control stream today, and he played up against a Zoolock Gul'dan, hybrid variant. With Keleseth, that was like a 6-7 Doom Guard, sorry, 6-8 Doom Guard coming down, and obviously then Gul'dan brings the Doom Guard back. It was against the Priest. It just, it got rid of the Priest's clears, got to 10, and suddenly the Priest had no clears left and just slammed them in the face with all the demons that you resummon. So it's a very interesting deck, and we'll have to see. GeorgeC kind of known for bringing some more of the newer variants, a bit more varied lineup that you usually see your standard bog standard lineups, because if you were to look at a bog standard lineup, Deathsie's kind of running it. It's the tried, the tested, and the true, and he's got that. And Rogue, Shaman, and Druid also coming through. And interestingly, George banning the Priest here. Again, another Priest ban. Worked for Mysterious. Will it work for George?
I'm trying to think what that indicates about his lineup, because with the Warlock, it's probably a pretty good matchup against the Druid if it's Zoo, because you've still got the powerful explosive early starts with Keleseth and all the early minions, but you've also got a bit of late game power as well with the Gul'dan. So probably a Zoo, and if his Warrior, if the previous weeks are anything to go by, that's going to be a Fatigue Warrior. Sadly banned out because it was just such a treat to watch him play it.
I just love Dead Man's Hand into 60-year games, where I come out with about 7,000 more grey hairs than I went in with, but won't get to see it today. At least it's not a Fatigue Warrior mirror, because those things can just, because they don't run anything that deals damage directly, and they just both have Dead Man's Hand. I always wonder how anybody wins that matchup.
Well, you know the ruling on it, because there are situations where it will go on forever. Neither player will ever fatigue or kill the opponent. So after 45 turns, which is the Hearthstone limit, whoever has the higher health total, including armor and health, is the winner.
I didn't know that ruling, but I do now, and I'm also more intrigued that I want to see a Fatigue Warrior.
Thankfully, we're not going to see that, because we would be here until next Tuesday, and you would see that I do, in fact, never leave this chair.
Well, I think you look good in the chair, though. I think you've made a good home for it.
Thanks.
It's nice.
I feel like Davros from Doctor Who, the Dalek guy, leader of the Daleks.
Don't watch Doctor Who. Straight over my head.
Straight over Davros' head as well. He's pretty short.
Is he?
Yeah.
You're not short, though, man.
I am in the chair.
You're an average-sized human being.
Average-sized, Matt.
But it's slightly taller than average-sized.
6'3", mate.
Oh, shoot.
None of that nonsense.
I'm 6'4", so I just want to... Just want to throw that. Anyway, once we're done comparing our proverbial heights, we are just waiting for GeorgeC to get ready and going, because he just needed a bit of time to get his mental state ready for this really riling matchup.
Psych himself up. Just look at pictures of Amnesiac and say, "You're nothing. You are not the young savage. There can be only one."
GeorgeC a bit younger than Amnesiac, though, right?
And more savage.
And more savage. 100% more savage. I mean, Amnesiac's pretty savage, but
he's. Don't get me wrong, I am not disputing the savagery of Amnesiac. However, on a scale from 1 to savage, George is pretty savage.
Only GeorgeC can call out Ben Brode on Twitter and get a reply for it. GeorgeC looks like he's running a Control Warlock variant here, so good start with the Mistress of Mixtures. And you're looking up against what I imagine is going to be straight-up Jade Druid for Deathsie.
Yeah, very likely.
With a Savage Roar?
Yeah, he was running this last time as well, and it worked pretty well for him. It's kind of... one step further. Now that Mark of the Lotus is bordering on core in the Jade Druid list, Savage Roar just gives you a little bit more burst potential. Might be pretty good here against the Warlock, because it kind of goes back to the old school combo Druid days where it was pretty good against Handlock, because you only needed 2 or 3 minions on the board before you go for the Savage Roar. Obviously no Force of Nature now, but still that little bit of extra burst might mean GeorgeC has to play a little bit inefficiently to make sure that Deathsie's board is clear at all times.
So I'm Deathsie right now, by the way, Derek. I'm baking a cake. I've got my core flower of the wild growths. I've added in the milk of the nourish coming out soon. I just need the icing of the cake of the ultimate infestation, and suddenly we've got a really fancy baking cake going on here. He's ramping up pretty hard is where I'm getting. He's ramping up like no man's business.
I like the idea of the analogy, but hearing you say the phrase milk of the nourish, I think means I'm just never going to stop crying.
Okay, what I want to say is I never want to look at your internet history if you think milk of the nourish is any way, shape or form some sort of...
Mate, you said it, not me.
Anyway, let's look at Deathsie's hand. He's got, again, big cards. He's got Aya there. He's got Malfurion if he wants to ramp that out immediately. I mean, GeorgeC's gone fairly wide. He's actually picked up a Felguard here, which isn't a bad card to have later on in the game.
I mean, yeah, this is a great way to get things going for both players. Obviously, Deathsie going really hard in on the ramp, and now he's got the Jades to back up that extra mana that he's gained. But for GeorgeC, sticking the board early on, it's hard to do as a control Warlock, but curving out absolutely perfectly, almost as wasting 1 mana here, in getting a nice board going. And the Skulking Geist as well means that he only has to worry about up to a maximum of 10-10. If neither Jade Idol is played, only a maximum of 8-8 before he can close out the game. And the Blood Reaver Gul'dan and the Lich King. I actually kind of like George's chances here.
I love he's going for Skulking Geist straight away before even seeing 1 Jade Idol. That's going to get cut out. Nothing for Deathsie. And you can see Deathsie tilts the eyebrows, says, okay, 10-10 is my maximum here.
Well, no, 8-8 now.
Oh, 8-8 because he's not seen either Jade Idol.
Exactly.
There you go.
And obviously he has to find those as well. You can't just theoretically have that much. You have to actually get those cards. Burns the Innovate here on the Jade Blossom, which, you know, you could say denies Kuhn on the following turn, but you would be wrong if you would say that, because it ramps up, allows him to go for Kuhn and develop a whole bunch of stuff on the following turn. But at the same time, for George, still showing no signs of slowing. He can keep up on the board development here.
He's got options. Siphon Soul is one of them. He's got Felguard and Earthen Ring. You're already really behind on mana, though, and Felguard obviously destroys one of your mana crystals, so...
Kind of doing the exact opposite of what you would like.
If you were George here, yeah, I think Siphon is the way to go. I think what Deathsie wanted to achieve here is he was looking to go as wide as possible to contest the board, then get into Kuhn, and then look for a use of Savage Roar to try and just end the game, because obviously he knows that his longevity has gone out the window with the loss of those Jade Idols in deck. He's now not got that ability to just out late game this Gul'dan control Warlock, and I think he was just looking to go as wide as he physically could. And now he's back to square one. He's got that Kuhn if he wants to reset his mana and maybe go for something like a Malfurion.
I mean, there's argument for saving it for later on, but the thing is, if you go for it on the same turn as a whole bunch of Jades or the Ultimate Infestation, that's a great big board that your opponent is going to very happily say, right, Twisting Nether, Defile with Tainted Zealot, clear the whole thing off. But this is a little bit more medium-sized, and GeorgeC has a board of his own, or he did until it was cleared off there at least.
Still a scary board because of that Savage Roar in hand. Again,
yeah.
Deathsie just doing his best to get as many bodies on board for GeorgeC to deal with. And GeorgeC might be forced to, well, he might be forced to Hellfire. He's got the Drained Soul, though, which is a good way of dealing with things.
Yeah, I suppose maybe he's hoping to pull the Doomsayer, which could be in GeorgeC's lineup, but actually here, this is a lot of damage coming through, especially with the swipe. I'm trying to think if there's a way that you can perfectly deal the damage. The Voidwalker definitely helps in closing this out a bit, but again, this is kind of what I was anticipating might happen to GeorgeC. He's going to have to play his cards pretty inefficiently, like throwing out cards here just to die, to stop that Savage Roar from killing him.
And I think GeorgeC will be fully aware that Deathsie has Savage Roar in this Druid list. You can see why he threw so many taunts on board, because admittedly you were staring down a pretty decent amount of damage from the Jade Druid there, but it wasn't like it was going to kill you the next turn. But with Savage Roar, there was that possibility that with a bit of extra damage here and there, that could have been the case. To see what Deathsie chooses. Savage Roar looks like it's going to be the option. see how he trades it.
Yeah, you're unlikely to get much better than this against the Warlock because there's such a high chance they go with Hellfire Defile, Tainted Zealot Defile, Twisting Nether, a whole bunch of removal options. Is able to get a almost perfect value swipe in dealing every single point of damage. And now pushing 8, 13, 22 points of damage. Quick maths, so close.
And that's why GeorgeC, if GeorgeC hadn't put those taunts down, I think he could have been close to dead, you know, on that turn.
Yep.
It would have been very close indeed. And you can see now, actually, he hasn't got too many great options in hand.
So he kind of wants to, if he could, throw down his own 4 health minion to activate the Defile more effectively. But yeah, considering there's no real way to get the Defile to go off as powerfully as you want, you've got to go for the Lich King here. Still no way to deliver lethal through this, even with the upgraded hero power. Swipe, however, does close out the game.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. What a top deck from Deathsie, and the little clap from him comes through as well. GeorgeC's not going to give him the satisfaction of landing it on the noggin. And Deathsie goes 1 up.
One thing I have to say to Deathsie here, though, like, well played putting the Savage Roar in your deck there. It worked out amazingly because the late game plan was destroyed as early as it possibly could be by GeorgeC with coin into the Skulking Geist. But just going for the aggressive game plan, which to be honest is your plan A as the Jade Druid. Nicely played there by Deathsie. Again,
we saw what he wanted to achieve in those final few turns. Wide, get use of a bit like an Evolved Shaman. Just go wide as you physically can to get use of Bloodlust. Same with the idea here for, because Jade Druid does go wide, right? You can generate a token or a minion every time you play a Jade card, so you're going to go wide, use that Savage Roar. The inclusion makes sense in some way, shape or form, especially gives you that edge maybe over some of these control versus control matchups when you do play into Skulking Geist, and I'm really impressed with how Deathsie played that. Played to his win conditions perfectly, and look at this. Prince Keleseth. The gods have favoured the mulligan here from Deathsie. Even Vile Spine as well if you wanted to keep it. Yeah, the keeping of Swashbuckler here, I'm questioning here because you don't want to play it on turn 1 because you want to pull out the patches after it's buffed by Keleseth. He was kind of bailed out by getting the Firefly here because you're very happy to play that on turn 1. Then go Keleseth's Shadow Step on turn 2 and pull out a 3/3 patches to get things rolling. Goodness me. Obviously, you have better options here for GeorgeC, even with the Keleseth. Yeah. Things like Hellfire, things like Despicable Dreadlord can help you clear up a bit better. But a Prince Keleseth, Shadow Step, Prince Keleseth is really not going to make GeorgeC's day, and Deathsie off to a very, very good start in this second game. Yeah. This is where I concede on ladder, by the way. Right. 1 Shadow Step is enough for you. You don't need the double. No, 1 Shadow Step sometimes is just enough, depending on what my hand looks like, you know. Yeah. I mean, this is a good way to fight back against it. You've got Doomsayer to give you very likely a clear board going into Gluttonous Ooze. You're not destroying a weapon. Actually, no, you probably are destroying a weapon because they'll go for it here, and you're just getting the body on board more relevantly. And then I think it's the same game plan as last time for GeorgeC. You just curve out as aggressively as possible. Deathsie going to weapon up, whether he goes for hit to face here. No, he doesn't, and that's going to be a good Gluttonous Ooze turn for GeorgeC. Yep, easy peasy. You would have done it if he hadn't even weaponed up here. Maybe not when the Stonehill Defender is drawn, but you just want to be pressuring here. You know how far behind on board you are. Wow. Goodness me, Southsea Captain is a good turn for Deathsie along with the Swashbuckler if he wants to. That's going to make a beefy board. Hellfire in hand for GeorgeC, because that will help clear up some things, but that's a 5/5 Southsea deckhand that's going to summon a 3/3 patches. Then going to turn it into a 4/4, so you're even going to retain patches on board. There's almost no way in hell that you don't play Southsea Captain, because it's just too valuable. Goodness me. Yeah, you just want to be thinking about the potential for Defile, I think, mostly, because if you go Southsea Captain and the regular Swashbuckler, then it kind of trades up quite nicely. The bigger Swashbuckler, I think, probably would have been the play because it's just stronger against Hellfire. It would have gone up to a 4/4 with the Captain buff, so you would have been significantly less vulnerable. George is going to go for the Despicable Dreadlord here. That will clear up just the patches, but again, Deathsie can make a good trade in the following turn. You don't really want to lose your Southsea Captain, but alas. So Shadow Step, now that the Keleseth is gone, is a little bit more stranded. Using it as on the Swashbuckler is kind of usually more of a, not necessarily a desperation play, but not the minion you want to be Shadow Stepping the most. You'd rather hit something like Leroy, maybe a Valspine to get some of those high impact kills on the Warlock. Got that the 1-mana Sanguine Reveller, and that's the one that destroys a minion and I think absorbs its stats.
Just gets +2/+2.
+2/+2, yeah. So he has that option if he needs to at some point down the line.
Well, with the Possessed Villager as well, it's kind of basically the exact card you're meant to target with Sanguine Reveler. But just going for it now, because basically you want to be protecting this 2-1, and you can either do it by Shadow Stepping to buff up its stats back to a 2-2, or just suck it up and turn it into a 3-3 here. Is trading in. So you're really vulnerable to the Hellfire now. And
you are indeed.
After the play last turn, you have no indication that they don't have the Hellfire, because coin into the Despicable Dreadlord was probably still better, but GeorgeC isn't happy. He wants more stuff killed off here with the Hellfire.
I mean, you've got these taunts in hand. You have Hellfire. You know that unless there's one more South Sea Captain, it's unlikely that they're going to get buffed up beyond 3 health regardless. You can save Hellfire. You can make him play more stuff on board and then sort of play Hellfire further down the line, knowing that it'll be difficult for him or Deathsie to get past these taunts and put any significant face damage in here. So it's not too bad.
Having said that, though, all minions in Deathsie's deck are buffed up by +2/+2. Is there, it has to be a 1 health minion to even die to the Hellfire at all. So I don't know how useful it's going to be going forward in the game. I mean, it's going to end up being pretty good here.
I mean, it's going to,
it's about the same.
Yeah, it's about the same, right? Because you saw the board state that he had. It's always going to clear up that board state. So if you used it then, you're going to get the clear on that board anyway. So that board's going to retain its position as it is. I think the Hellfire is a good play now. But
it's definitely the way to go now. But having said that, it's still a relatively similar board to last time, but you've lost 2 minions. You've lost the Dirty Rat and the Stonehill Defender. So
true.
It would have worked out better, I think, in going for the Hellfire beforehand. But the main thing that GeorgeC was thinking, I suppose, is I want to give my opponent a clearer board going into turn 7 when the Bone Mare comes down, which is what he has got. But there is still a minion on board. Obviously, no Bone Mare actually available, though.
Deathsie actually limited for options right now. Feels like it's just going to be a cold blood turn to the Vile Spine, start slamming on the noggin. Not even going to do that, actually.
Yeah, I think it's just too important to Shadow Step this back to your hand. You want to use the cold blood on the following turns. It's unlikely to connect more than once anyway. So I think I probably do like going for that here. Or saving it here and saving the Shadow Step potential.
Defile was great for GeorgeC. Clears up the entire board. And suddenly, with another Stonehill Defender here, GeorgeC has got options. Wow, goes for Sloggoth as well.
Yep, just going all in on saying you just don't have that second Vile Spine. He's already killed one, so there's no potential to Shadow Step it back, and obviously the chances of having the second one is unlikely. So unfortunate for Deathsie that he drew that 1 card too late. You've got to throw it down anyway, because it is still a War Golem at the end of the day.
It's still a 7-mana 7/7. It's not awful. But GeorgeC with a big hand, Deathsie must think that he's got answers somewhere, and you can see that he does. Suddenly, I mean, Deathsie, there is a timer for Deathsie. He's eventually going to draw enough threats that GeorgeC will run out of answers for. Another Bone Mare. Another one.
I never know when people do that meme if it's going for DJ Khaled or Oprah. Like, you get a car, you get a car.
I've always been DJ Khaled, man. But
for life. You've got the keys.
I've got the keys to life.
I mean, you is smart, you is kind, and you is loyal, so.
I'm glad you noticed.
Yeah.
Because I've really been giving off the vibe of loyal this entire broadcast.
I mean, just sticking around is pretty loyal.
It is,
I would say.
Anyway, Deathsie, I mean, this has just been dud draws for Deathsie thus far. So, obviously South Sea buffed up with that charge. Pretty decent 1-drop. I would take a 4/3 South Sea deckhand for 1 charge.
Yeah.
Pretty much any day of the week. But regardless, it's not exactly like he's sitting on a bounty of playable cards right now. At least not anything that's going to get what he really wants, which is damage to face, or at least some form of board control back. It's still in a tough state for Deathsie right now. And GeorgeC pumping out those taunts.
Yeah. I think it's worth mentioning as well, now that the game is slowing down a little bit, just how impressive it is that GeorgeC is in such a good state, pretty arguably ahead in this position, given that he was facing down a double double Keleseth game from his opponent. That takes real skill to get to this point in the game. And to be honest, for planning ahead, he has made this deck so that it is really good against the rogues. He's got the weapon destruction and the gluttonous ooze, a whole bunch of taunts. He made sure that he would be able to target this deck.
So GeorgeC looking at that final card in hand, and he probably make a pretty good assertion that it's likely going to be Shadow Step.
Yeah.
Given that it's been unplayable with just one minion on board for the entire time. That's a pretty good draw. He's going to get it next turn regardless, but not a bad thing to pick up from Rathian.
Very good draw as well. You're going to be getting back, what, a Despicable Dreadlord, a Voidwalker, very importantly in getting a Taunt. Ooh.
This could be pretty good. You could trade in 7/6 into Rathian, then you could play South Sea Shadow Step and then play the Bone Mare back.
Yep. Yeah, play the Bone Mare again. You do lose the stats on the Bone Mare, but you're kind of evening out anyway because it heals health while losing a bit of damage. You're then charging in an 8 attack minion here with the South Sea deckhand. That's got to be the play.
I think it is, and finally you get use out of this Shadow Step here. Yep. Twisting Nether in hand for GeorgeC. He also has Bloodleaver Gul'dan, but obviously Deathsie. At this point, you can't afford to play around things. At this point, you're a Hail Mary, 8 damage to face, and hope that you can get to the next turn to connect it. And there is outs, I think. You've got Leroy as a top deck if Twisting Nether were to come down. So, you know, you are playing to your outs here as Deathsie. This is not a bad play at all. I really like it because, again, top decks we've seen can save the day. Both South Seas have gone, so you know you're not going to get the 4 damage there. But again, like we said, there is such a thing as Leroy Jenkins, and it is going to be an 8 attack Leroy Jenkins now, so a huge amount of damage coming from that.
So GeorgeC here, there was no way he could heal up to get out of Leroy Jenkins' range. Ooh, the single worst card you could possibly get.
Not great.
Yeah, even with double Drain Soul and some kind of Hellfire shenanigans, or even with the Lich King there, because it is an 8 attack minion now in the Leroy, you're never getting out of that range. But the fact that he's given himself a clear board going into Bloodreaver Gul'dan, perfectly rationing out his removal, and he's still left with board sweepers. He's got the Despicable Dreadlord on board and in hand, got the Hellfire and the hero power now. I think GeorgeC's got this.
Yeah, and Deathsie agrees. He is going to concede, even with just slamming the Edwin down with the backstab. Not enough for him, and GeorgeC's going to level out the series 1-1. Deathsie, I think, played a pretty good end game there. You know, he knew that he had realistically just that one out of the Leroy Jenkins. Yep. But GeorgeC able to, like you said, tech his deck specifically to be decent against the rogue. He weathered a double Kelseth as well, which is very difficult to do, and came out on top. So good win for him here, levels the series up, and we thought it was going to be a spicy one, but didn't think it was going to be Madras, because it's getting good.
It's getting a little bit Picento? I don't really know.
Don't even know what that curry is, but I'm just going to nod my head.
It's kind of a little kind of a chili.
It's a chili, is it?
Yeah. Well, it's not, because I just said nonsense sounds. But
where on the Scoville scale is it? You know, are we talking like super spicy? The tens of thousands? I think it's tens of thousands is spicy on the Scoville scale.
That sounds pretty spicy to me.
Brilliant. Let's move on before we stop talking about Scoville scale chilies. Whoa. And it's going to be another Kelseth in the opening hand for Deathsie. He can chuck away patches as well to guarantee that it goes back into his deck. Not a bad start for the Mulligans here, if you are Deathsie.
Yeah. Just already from GeorgeC's opening hand, we can tell a lot about kind of his game plan for this Priest in this matchup and overall. Skulking Geist in Priest, which on ladder at least is usually frowned upon as just not being necessary against the obvious Jade Druid that you're trying to target.
You do get effectiveness out of burning Cold Bloods with the Rogue as well.
So that's the argument. You burn Cold Bloods from the Rogue, Evolves from the Shaman very relevantly, and cards from your own deck. If you're thinning your deck to get yourself closer to Raza and Anduin, maybe he thinks that was worth it, because he's clearly targeting the Jade Druid by going with the Skulking Geist in his Warlock. Maybe not necessarily a direct target Druid, but at least giving him a solid chance.
It's just going to be a singular Kelseth this time round, as you're not going to get the Shadow Step coming out. And turn 2 Kelseth comes out for Deathsie.
Boo-hoo-hoo. Only a single Kelseth.
Only a single Kelseth. Guess that's me done for the day. Better go jump. Nice. I've been listening to too much ball control.
Yeah, clearly.
Anyway, it's now time for GeorgeC. He's got Shadowwear Pain, got Doomsayer. Would you just slam Doomsayer here?
So you need to be thinking about when Doomsayer is going to be good in this matchup. You're probably going to be pretty far behind on board for the next few turns. So if you are going to be using Doomsayer later on, I think it's likely to be on the same turn as a Dragonfire when you've cleared the board and you try and give yourself initiative going into Shadow Reaper Anduin or Prophet Velen, something like that. but maybe you'd use it happily just to gain health later on down the line. But looking at those options, they both seem kind of unlikely because Dragonfire Potion has no guarantee of clearing the board, given that there is Cobalt Scalebane, so I like just throwing it down here.
You could technically clear it if you're Deathsie, by the way. You've got the South Sea deckhand, coin, Cold Blood. I think that actually clears. But obviously it's a massive investment, and then you get a really bad trade into the Novice Engineer, because that will just trade into basically what is a 6-1 at that point. So
I think you make a stonking big Edwin. I mean, you're afraid of Shadow of Death, but outside of that, you've still got a pretty good hand. You can go, what, Backstab, Cold Blood, Coin, Edwin. I guess maybe that's a bit too all-in because you're using both 0 mana spells. So your Valspine is an awful lot worse.
Forgot about patches. You don't even need Cold Blood. You can just clear Doomsayer with the patches, which is now a 2-2 because we have Kelseth. So Deathsie going to generate a pretty decent board here.
Yeah. Yeah, this is probably better because you've still got the potential for a big Edwin a little bit later on down the line. And you've also got the potential for coin into Cobalt or Vilespine.
Interesting from GeorgeC. Inclusion of the Holy Nova, which has often been cut from a lot of priest lists now.
Very unfashionable.
It's going to find his uses here, and Deathsie will be looking at this play and saying, well, he could have taken the value trade into the 2-1, but he went for the card draw. He must have a way to deal with my board, because he's not just going to leave it like this. So Deathsie's going to be thinking about the plays that GeorgeC has following that heal play onto patches, because, again, you know, if you're the priest, you're looking at 6 damage on board already, and you're starting to worry. So the priest, he's thinking he's either got Dragonfire 2 turns down the line, or he might have something else. And Deathsie might be lured into saying, well, it's just going to be Dragonfire, isn't it? So maybe I can go ahead and just slam Cobalt Scalebane down now, and it'll be fine. If I were him, I think Cobalt Scalebane would be the play that I was looking at. Regardless, I think, you know, you've got 3 token type minions on board. You slam Cobalt down, suddenly they become a bit more oppressive.
He's going for the big Edwin here. I think
the big Edwin, yeah.
I could definitely get on board with your line of play because you know, the only way you can really be answering that right now is either pint-sized horror, which you know is going to mess you up anyway, or a Shadow Word Death. And if it pulls out the Shadow Word Death, you're then setting up for a really powerful Edwin later on down the line. But I guess with this line of play, you're baiting out the Shadow of Death with the Edwin, and you can still go for the Scalebane anyway, and you keep the coin for Bone Mare.
There's the Holy Nova coming out. Deathsie nods his head, maybe realizing that could have been the issue. And Dragonfire next turn won't clear up the Cobalt, but it will clear up that Edwin, which is a 10-5 at the end of this turn.
There's just not a chance here. Unless you pick up Death off the top, you have to go for Dragonfire Potion.
Yeah.
Or you're dead. Maybe Kazakus for 1 and pray you freeze the right minion.
Yeah, you could also have just bought time with Greater Healing, but that never feels good, does it? So
I think this is definitely the way to go. Because in the next few turns, with something like Bone Mare, you're hoping that Shadow Reaper Anduin will be able to answer it. But the fact that there is still the coin, this was saved by Deathsie on the turn that we were considering coin Scalebane, and it's worked out unbelievably well for him. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, you have to Greater Healing and then heal yourself and go into Shadow Reaper and hope that that buys you enough time. It might actually buy him enough time because he's going to be one off lethal.
Damage off lethal.
So
I apologize.
Any damage wins it, and no damage in hand for Deathsie right now.
Wow.
This is pretty major from Deathsie because he's one off lethal with the dagger right now.
Oh no!
Oh no! Wait, he's got Shadow Step. Oh goodness me! Yeah, I forgot about Shadow Step. There we go.
Yeah, nicely done by Deathsie. It was looking pretty dire for the Priest anyway, but going up 2-1 there, it's got to say, that's kind of unfortunate for GeorgeC because it looked like he's built a pretty anti-aggro lineup with Holy Nova and the Greater Healing Potion, both of which are kind of going by the wayside in favor of Organize Circle, Binding Heal, and Gadgets, and the main techs we've seen recently. But it looked like it might have worked out pretty well there, but it was just too perfect of a curve from the Rogue. You can't beat that. Yeah, and again, Deathsie chose a lot of instances to just slam down pressure that turn, the Cold Blood play, even though he nodded his head when he saw the Holy Nova, you know, even though he thought that that could be an inclusion for GeorgeC, just getting the pressure on, mounting an early board against the Priest, saying, well, even if you have answers, I'm slamming damage this turn that you're going to have to recuperate from. It was an aggressive play and aggressive moves from Deathsie, and it worked out well, and suddenly he's going to find himself 1 game away from taking a series against, arguably, like we said, one of the UK's best Hearthstone players. He is one series away. However, I think he saved the worst for last. This Shaman is going to struggle against this Priest. It struggles in general, but this one I think is really going to be running amok. The Holy Nova is really going to help it if too much damage comes in. Maybe the Greater Healing Potion can get you out of range. Especially when you get Raza in your opening hand. I like the Priest's chances here a lot.
I think he kept his entire hand as well. You've got Curious Glimmer, you've got... Most people say don't keep Novice Engineer, but in this instance, you know, with Raza in hand already, just a bit of cycle early on isn't too bad.
Yeah, in the early stages of the game, you kind of want to be using Novice Engineer later on because it cycles a card instantly when you play it.
Yeah.
But the Loot Hoarder won't be. You want to play that so it can die early on. But given how bad some of the other cards in your deck could be, just playing out the 2-1 here because you have the mana to do so doesn't seem too bad.
No, he's also got Pain in hand as well.
Deathsie giving us the wave as he brings out the Baiza Shaman in Prince Taldaram.
Wow.
This is a deck that didn't do particularly well over the weekend when Baiza brought it in her lineup to HCT. Obviously omitting the Mana-Tide totems in place of Taldaram and making up for that draw with the Cult Masters.
I know, I feel like turning into a 3-3 Flame Tongue totem isn't too bad. You know?
I'd take that, yeah.
I'd take
pretty good.
I'd take 3-3 Flame Tongue totem any day of the week. Slower start though, Deathsie just choosing to totem out here, just in sort of the respect of Pain, for instance. You don't want to play Flame Tongue totem. It can be one of your win conditions as a Shaman, so...
And it will also just potentially have been really good on this turn if we saw Coin Acolyte, something like that, or Acolyte on the next few turns, or even Glimmeroot or Kazakus. All of those trade pretty unfavorably when the Flame Tongue totem comes down. I
kind of want to cosplay as a 3-3 healing totem now as well, if I'm Prince Taladai. Just a 3-3 that heals all your minions one every turn. There's actually some pretty good totems that you could turn into 3-3s of as the Shaman.
I think that's a pretty niche cosplay. You're going to be playing that as Halloween, and when no one gets it, you're like, mate, I'm a 3-3 Taldaram disguised as a healing totem. Keep up!
Yes. That's what I'm going to be doing. I think you've seen through my aesthetic. You know, I was really looking to go for this niche Halloween cosplay of a totem. But alas, Thing from Below, he is going to get the right choice there. Icebreaker obviously included in every other Shaman deck, but not this one.
Freeze Shaman, lol.
Frost Shock into Icebreaker. I use that combo all the time.
Yeah, I bet, mate. So, you're going into turn 4. We don't know the deck list from GeorgeC, but I'd be very unsurprised if he is omitting the Organized Soul Priest and the Circle of Healing to make room for all this other stuff like the Holy Nova and the Greater Healing Potion. So I think you're pretty safe on this turn at least. Maybe we see a Coin Nova, which would actually be pretty bad, leaving you with only the Flame Tongue totem.
I think Kazakus is the way to go here. You know, you just slam Kazakus. I think you look for maybe a 1 mana. They're going to give you the best opportunity to clear this board. 5 mana also works, but is a little bit more risky. Yeah. Doesn't get the 4 damage to all minions.
Now that you mention it, I wouldn't have hated the 1 mana potion there. Your hand is pretty heavy already, and the Anduin isn't 100% crucial in this matchup. You can get it later on down the line. You don't need it right away.
I think he was looking for the 4 damage to all minions. Obviously,
yes, I definitely agree.
Because obviously, I think just hoping to clear everything, including the Flame Tongue totem in one foul swoop, but he doesn't get it. 1 mana just gives you the best odds of getting 2 damage to all minions. He had the coin in hand. He could have cleaned up everything but the Flame Tongue totem this turn round, and that would have been a good turn for George, but took the risk on the 5 mana play, looking for a bit more value out of it, and that might be the undoing here because the board is starting to get wide here for Deathsie. He has the Flame Tongue on board. We can cosplay as a 3-3 Flame Tongue totem if we want to. It's a lot of options.
Yeah, that's actually not bad because you can obviously choose where to play it so you can get it down in the middle.
Is someone injured?
Oh, he can draw some cards as well. No, he can't because nothing trades in nicely.
Nothing damaged, but if it's not a board clear from GeorgeC, which there's no option to at the moment, and he's definitely going to be targeting the Shadowed Pain at the Flame Tongue totem before he does it at the Northshire Cleric. It's actually really tough from both players. I mean, I like taking the value trade here because if a Holy Nova comes down now and he was being a bit greedy with it, all of a sudden you're in huge trouble.
You also know that he has a Kazakus potion in hand, so you don't want to commit potentially if he took a 5 mana one and he got the 4 damage to all minions.
That's right.
You have a pretty beefy board already. You're threatening Bloodlust, so GeorgeC will have to think about that as an out for Deathsie. Holy Nova is picked up, but it's not enough mana to play right now.
With Potion of Madness, most of the threatening minions on your opponent's board are due to the buff from Flame Tongue Totem, so I definitely agree going with the Holy Nova here, especially because if there was a Bloodlust from the Shaman, probably would have come down to the last turn, so you don't need to be too afraid of that right now.
Thrall Deathsie is not too bad because you'll get a pretty decent board out of that if you so choose. And obviously you haven't summoned Patches yet, so you can Bloodsail Corsair into Patches into Thrall Deathsie, and suddenly you're looking at a bit more of a sort of a board that gets itself away from Holy Nova territory too.
Leading directly into Dragonfire Potion turn, though. There obviously is still the coin in GeorgeC's hand, and Deathsie will know this. So he might have been thinking, if he had Dragonfire, he'd go for it on the previous turn. But I don't think GeorgeC would have done, even if he had it, because he suspects there isn't a Bloodlust in his opponent's hand. And also, as well as the fact there isn't a Bloodlust in your opponent's hand, you're expecting Doppelgangster to evolve on the following turn, which you really do want the Dragonfire Potion into. So I like saving the Thrall Deathseer here for more value after your board's cleared.
I think he was thinking about turning into a Northshire Cleric to get two card draws from this.
4 card draws now.
Oh, 4? Yes, because he's got two damaged minions. That's not a bad play from Deathsie at all.
That is a very cool play there.
Oh, he's running Cult Master as well. Really going card draw heavy in replacement for those Mana-Tide Totems. He's lost a bit of card draw from his deck, so...
I think that's definitely the way... well, that's definitely the way that Biza was building her list, at least. She was also running 2 Master of Evolutions, which I'm not sure if she did it because if Deathsie is copying that, because I think in the list that Gia, she stole that list and went top 25 legend with it recently. I don't know if she was running the Masters of Evolution, but even outside of that, it's still looking very nice here as we can keep up the draw for Deathsie with the Cult Master as well.
You can see here, full board. This means Dirty Rat is just a good 2-mana 2/6 at this point in time. Obviously, GeorgeC will be starting to see worried about the card draw that just took place with Deathsie. With a big board like this, you are worried about Bloodlust. You can't really play around it too much if you're GeorgeC, but Dirty Rat will help alleviate some of that pain.
I mean, the thing is, you could have played around the Bloodlust in a major way on the previous turn, because you could have gone with Holy Nova.
You could have done.
But then you're giving your opponent at least another 4 cards drawn on the next turn if they can hit a healing totem.
But so GeorgeC just healed himself. I'm not sure what that was playing around, because if Bloodlust is here, then he's just dead.
Well, he's dead if he plays Dirty Rat anyway, I think, pretty much. Like,
yeah, pretty much, I suppose, just to go for the heal in any case, shape or form.
Especially as there's really likely to be a Devolve or a Jade Claws or whatever at this point, in addition to the Bloodlust. But I think, actually, now that I mention it, the healing totem would have died if we'd gone with Holy Nova on the previous turn. So I probably would have preferred that from GeorgeC. I mean, he knows that there wasn't a Bloodlust before the 5 cards were drawn, but now there's an extra 5 cards in hand.
Suddenly, maybe Holy Nova is going to go out of range now with the Thrall Deathseer coming in. And that is a beefy board that requires a Dragonfire Potion at the very least. Holy Nova will get very little work done here. And GeorgeC, as you can see, is very much lacking in the Dragonfire department.
I think that's it. The Holy Nova, now, as you said, the fact that it didn't come down on the previous turn, it's just a bit too late. The Shadow Visions has already been used to pick up that exact Holy Nova, so he can't get that into the Dragonfire Potion. I just don't really see a way out of this, because even if a Bloodlust isn't picked up, we can see Cult Master being played for a whole bunch more cards. Board control is going nowhere here for the Shaman.
He also has that Evolve Shaman Hero Power on a very beefy board to work with too. That is Bloodlust, that is just game. There we go, Deathsie takes this.
So I've got to get your feedback on this. Do you think that the Holy Nova was the play to go for on the previous turn? Was it just too risky to leave your opponent's board for the Death Knight Evolve and the Bloodlust?
I think we all know the answer. I just think it was a greedy play from George. I think he was, like you said, you know, Bloodlust would have come down earlier if Deathsie had had it, you imagine. I didn't calculate exactly, but it was definitely teetering around the lethal area.
You'd go for it anyway.
You'd go for it just to put him down very low. So I think George is saying, he's calling Deathsie's bluff. He was saying, well, even all those cards you drew, everything like that, you don't have Bloodlust. So I'm just going to play like you don't have Bloodlust. But the problem is that every card draw that happens puts Deathsie one step closer to that card. And I think George just played a very greedy game without using that Holy Nova. He had the opportunity to clear up, what, like 90% of the minions on board, leaving maybe 1 or 2 alive. with just playing the Holy Nova. He even shadowed visions for it specifically and then never got that opportunity to play it. I think definitely a bit greedy from George there.
I'll have to get his opinion on this one because he might have just been of the mind, and he could very well be correct. It's definitely worth going back and analysing that game. That if he has Bloodlust, he wins no matter what I do. I'm not going to be able to clear the next wave of minions. So, well, actually, when I put it like that, because he had so many cards, the Shaman had so many cards in hand, if the board was cleared, it would be redeveloped the next turn, and then you lose one turn later.
Like you said, though, the Holy Nova would have cleared the healing totem up. So, you know, you might not have got that excessive card draw. That was a big swing turn for Deathsie. The Prince Valinar paid out in dividends, getting that 3/3 Northshire Cleric on board to draw 4 cards closer to that Bloodlust that would have been 4 turns later down the line, you know, had GeorgeC not cleaned up. So anyway, look, we can analyze that all we like. There was definitely some swing plays here and there, but Deathsie, in the end, beats one of the most decorated UK Hearthstone players 3-1. What a result for Deathsie, and he will be moving forward with a win in the ESL.